The night was colder than death itself. The air hung heavy with the scent of fear, sweat and smoke from the courtyard fire. He had sworn he would never run. He had promised he would die before denying his master. But now, his voice cracked, his hands trembled, his soul shattered. "I don't know him." The words tore out of his mouth like knives. Once, twice, 3 times, and then the rooster crowed. Across the courtyard, through the flicker of flames, Jesus turned. Their eyes met. No anger, no judgment, only love. Burning, wordless, unbearable. Peter stumbled back, his chest collapsing under the weight of his own betrayal. The same lips that once declared, "You are the Christ," had just cursed his name. He ran into the night, choking on sobs that clawed his throat raw. The moon watched him break. He fell to the ground. A fisherman no longer, an apostle no more. Just a man wrecked by his own weakness. And there, on the dirt of his shame, he whispered, "God, I have betrayed you." But heaven was silent, or so he thought. What Peter did not know was that mercy was already moving. Quietly, relentlessly, through the darkness he had made for himself. The same mercy that would one day find him again by the sea, and turn his failure into a flame that could never die. The night of betrayal. The night was heavy with fear. Jerusalem trembled under whispers. "They've taken him." The air smelled of smoke and betrayal. In a narrow courtyard lit by flickering torches, Peter stood among strangers, his heart pounding like the war drums of guilt that were soon to come. He had promised him, "Even if I must die with you, I will never deny you." Yet here he was, trembling. The same man who once walked on water was now drowning in his own fear. Jesus had been taken to the high priest's house. Peter followed, hiding in the shadows, afraid but unwilling to leave. The soldiers' laughter echoed through the night. Somewhere beyond those walls, his master, the one who called him Rock, stood bound, beaten, and silent. A servant girl pointed her finger, eyes narrow. "You were with him," she said. Peter's throat dried. His mind screamed to confess, but his tongue was shackled by fear. "I don't know him," he muttered. The words burned as they left his lips. The crowd turned. Another voice rose. "You're one of his disciples." Peter shook his head violently. "No, I am not." The cold wind whipped his face, carrying embers from the fire, and the weight of a curse. Then came the third accusation. "Aren't you Galilean? Your accent betrays you." And with shaking hands, Peter shouted, "I swear to you, I do not know the man." The words tore through the air like knives. And then, in the same instant, the sound of a rooster pierced the night. Silence fell. From across the courtyard, Jesus turned and looked at him. That gaze, no anger, no accusation, just sorrow, infinite, heartbreaking sorrow. Time froze. The fire dimmed. The noise faded. Only that look remained. The look that said, "I knew you would fall, and I love you still." Peter staggered backward. His chest felt crushed. He ran, through the alleyways, through the darkness, until he fell to the ground outside the city walls. There he wept, not like a man, but like a soul broken open. His tears fell into the dirt, baptizing his shame. He remembered the sea, the first day he met him. "Follow me," Jesus had said, "and I will make you a fisher of men." Now he felt like the one who had been caught by mercy itself. Hours later, when the sky turned red with dawn, Peter looked toward Golgotha and whispered, "Lord, forgive me." It was the lowest point of his life, and the very beginning of his redemption. That night would haunt him forever, but from its ashes, the fire of mercy would rise. The silence after the fall. The city had gone quiet. The echoes of the crowd shouting, "Crucify him," were gone, replaced by the hollow weeping of those who loved him. The earth still trembled from the death of the one who had calmed its storms. Peter sat alone in a small room, his back against the stone wall. His robe was torn, his eyes red and swollen. Every sound outside made him flinch. Every whisper reminded him of the voice he had denied. He could still hear it, that rooster crowing, sharp as a blade in his heart. And that look, his eyes, they haunted him. Eyes that said, "I knew you would fall, and I still choose you." But Peter could not forgive himself. He replayed it all. The miracles, the laughter, the meals, the moments when Jesus called him rock. How could a rock crumble so easily? The disciples were scattered, afraid. The world felt like it had ended. Rumors spread. "He is dead." Those words crushed Peter's soul. He left the city before dawn. The path led him back toward the sea, the only place that ever made sense. He remembered the waves, the voice that called him to walk, the moment he sank, and the hand that lifted him. He whispered, "You saved me once, and I failed you again." For 3 days the silence was unbearable. No miracles, no master, no hope. At night Peter sat by the shore, staring into the black water. He thought of jumping in, not to swim, but to disappear. The wind howled like his conscience, whispering accusations only he could hear. And then, a memory came. That Last Supper, the bread, the cup. Jesus had looked at him and said, "Simon, Satan has asked to sift you like wheat. But I have prayed for you, that your faith may not fail. And when you have turned back, strengthen your brothers." Those words struck him like lightning. When you have turned back. Was there still a way back? Could mercy reach him now? The silence that once crushed him now began to stir with something faint. Not sound, but promise. Hope flickered like a dying flame, refusing to go out. Peter fell to his knees and cried, "Lord, I am not worthy, but if you still see me, if you still love me, I will follow you again." That night a soft wind passed over the water. It carried no voice, no vision, only peace. Peter didn't know it yet, but the dawn of resurrection was only hours away. The silence wasn't the end, it was the pause before glory. The dawn of mercy. The sea was calm that morning. Too calm, the kind of silence that holds its breath before a miracle. Peter and the others had gone back to what they knew best. Fishing. All night their nets had been empty. The sky above Galilee was still dark blue, and a faint mist rose from the water. Peter's hands were rough from the rope, his eyes hollow from sleepless nights. He had tried to work, to forget, to drown his guilt in the rhythm of the waves. But guilt swims, it never sinks. Then as dawn began to paint the horizon with fire, a voice came from the shore. "Children, have you caught anything?" Peter looked up. A man stood by the fire, the light of morning behind him. "No," John replied. The voice came again, clear, steady, commanding. "Cast your net on the right side of the boat." The words echoed in Peter's soul. They obeyed, and suddenly, the net grew heavy. Fish, countless fish, pulling, splashing, bursting through the surface. John's heart recognized it first. "It is the Lord," he whispered. Peter froze. His mind raced. "The Lord, here, after everything I did?" Without another thought, he threw himself into the water. He didn't care about the fish, the boat, or his shame. He swam like a madman, tears mixing with the sea. Every stroke whispered a prayer. "Forgive me, forgive me, forgive me." When he reached the shore, the man was waiting, calm, gentle, radiant in the morning light. A fire crackled beside him, fish already roasting. Peter fell to his knees, panting, unable to speak. Jesus looked at him. No anger, no condemnation. Just the same gaze from that night, now filled with warmth instead of sorrow. He spoke softly. "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter's throat tightened. "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Feed my lambs." Again, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Tears streamed down Peter's face. "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Take care of my sheep." Then a third time, "Simon, do you love me?" Peter broke. The question was not to shame him, but to heal him, one wound at a time. 3 denials, 3 confessions, 3 acts of mercy. Through trembling lips, Peter whispered, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." Jesus smiled. a smile brighter than the sunrise. Feed my sheep. The words sank deep into Peter's heart. His failure was not the end. His brokenness was the doorway to grace. The man who had betrayed God had now been found by mercy, and in that golden morning light, by the sea that once held his shame, Peter's soul was reborn. He stood up, not as a fisherman anymore, but as a shepherd. The waves sang softly. The wind carried a whisper, "Follow me." And he did. The call to shepherd, from the ashes of shame to the throne of grace. Who could believe it? The man who denied God 3 times would soon speak to nations in his name. The man who ran away in fear would stand before kings without trembling. The man who wept in the dark would one day carry the light of the world. Grace doesn't choose the perfect. Grace chooses the broken, and then makes them unstoppable. That was Peter, once a fisherman, then a failure. Now, the rock on which the church would be built. It was weeks after the resurrection. The disciples were gathered again, this time not in fear, but in hope. The news of the risen Christ had shaken Jerusalem. Rumors spread like fire. Some mocked, others wept. But among those who believed, hearts burned. And in the middle of it all, Peter had changed. He no longer hid behind locked doors. His voice, once cracked with fear, now carried the calm strength of one who had been forgiven. Each morning, he remembered the fire by the shore, the eyes of Jesus, the question that had pierced his heart. Do you love me? He understood now. Love was the foundation of his mission. Not power, not pride, only love. One night as they prayed in silence, a rush of wind filled the room. Flames appeared above their heads, not of destruction, but of divine fire. The Holy Spirit had come. In that instant, Peter's heart ignited. Every fear, every doubt, every scar burned away. He stood, lifted his hands, and began to speak. The language that came from his lips was not his own, yet everyone understood. People from every nation heard the same truth. Jesus Christ is Lord, risen from the dead. The crowd trembled. Thousands were cut to the heart. And Peter, the one who had once denied, became the first to proclaim. That day, 3,000 souls were baptized, not because Peter was powerful, but because mercy was. He would go on to heal the sick, to raise the broken, to speak before emperors. He would lead the church through storms of persecution. And when the time came to die, he would face the cross again, this time, not in fear, but in love. Crucify me upside down, he said, for I am not worthy to die as my Lord did. As the nails pierced his flesh, Peter lifted his eyes to heaven. He saw not death, but reunion. The sea, the fire, the voice, they all returned to him. And in his final breath, he whispered the same words that had saved him long ago. Lord, you know that I love you. The wind carried those words across Rome, across centuries, across hearts still trembling in shame. Because Peter's story was never just about him. It was about all of us. We too fall. We too deny. But the same voice still calls, do you love me? And if we dare to answer yes, the same mercy that rebuilt Peter can rebuild us too.